Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we are going to be talking about different concerns that people have for the Nintendo Switch 2 and why these concerns should not really be concerns. Those worried that the Switch 2 Joy-Cons will snap off and the attaching mechanism will break. Those worried that the backwards compatibility of the Switch 2 will not be so great, or that maybe Joy-Con drift will come back in full force and make the value of these new Joy-Cons really not so great. Are these legitimate concerns? Should we actually be worried about them? I think the answer is definitely no, and I'll try to make that very clear by explaining it all today. But before going forward, let me take this moment to point out that I am aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers by the time the Switch 2 comes out. So if you find yourself enjoying my content, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell. So I think the moment that I decided I should make a video like this was when my cousin sent me over one of those short reel videos, and I saw a content creator that was reaching hundreds of thousands of people freaking out about the Switch 2 Joy-Cons snapping off, or freaking out that the Switch 2 backwards compatibility wouldn't really be fully backwards compatible, and there's going to be a variety of games that wouldn't make it to the console. And when I saw this, I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But I recognize that not everyone understands exactly what's going on, so I want to try and explain why these issues are not issues. So firstly, let's address the whole backwards compatibility thing. In the Switch 2 first look trailer, Nintendo shared this image. Plays Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games, as well as Nintendo Switch games. And then there's an asterisk. Nintendo Switch 2 plays both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games. Certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Nintendo Switch 2. Details will be shared on the Nintendo website at a later date. And so when people see this line, certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Nintendo Switch 2, people see that and think, oh, well, what games might those be? Is there a whole bunch? And we've actually seen this situation before with the Nintendo Switch Lite. The Nintendo Switch Lite is not fully compatible with every single Switch game. And you might wonder why. Well, it all just comes down to the form factor of the console. The Switch Lite does not have Joy-Cons that attach. It doesn't fit into a dock. And so because of that, there are certain things it simply isn't compatible for. For example, Nintendo Labo. There are several Nintendo Labo games where you use the Joy-Cons in unique ways in combination with different types of cardboard that can do so many different unique things. It's not possible with the Switch Lite, and probably also not possible with the Switch 2. Why? Because the Switch 2, from what we have seen, does not have an infrared camera on the right Joy-Con like there was for Switch 1. So taking a look here from the Switch 2 first look trailer, we see this image here of the Joy-Cons, and as you see here on the right Joy-Con, where there would be an infrared camera, there is like a rounded like indentation here, but that's not for an infrared camera. As you see, it's just where the plastic molding attaches to, and you can see it running across the entire Joy-Con on the side there. So there is no infrared camera like there was for the right Joy-Con on Switch 1, and as a result, any game that takes advantage of the infrared camera, you can't use, or you can't use that feature, and Nintendo Labo use that kind of technology a great deal. So basically, Nintendo Labo will not be compatible with the Switch 2. And I don't think this should be a big concern because there are really only a very few select amount of games that take advantage of the infrared camera. And I'd also like to point out, going back to that whole screen of the backwards compatibility for Switch 2, they also mentioned that both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games will be playable on Switch 2. Which is actually fantastic news. As opposed to thinking that this image is suggesting not that many games will be compatible on Switch 2, it's quite the opposite. Almost everything will be compatible. Games that you have downloaded and not have bought physically, those will also transfer over on the Switch 2. So essentially anything you're playing on Switch 1, minus games that use the infrared camera, are going to work on your Switch 2, regardless of how you purchase them. But let's now move on to concern number 2, the Joy-Cons. Are they going to drift? For those that don't know, Joy-Con drift is an issue that plagued the Switch era. As the years progressed with Switch, more and more Joy-Cons started breaking down rather quickly. And when I say breaking down, what I mean is the control sticks, they would become less accurate. As you were playing games, you would start moving in one direction or another, and you wouldn't be touching the controller. Joy-Con drift. But it seems like Nintendo has likely addressed this issue. So firstly, because of this issue, it wasn't just Joy-Cons for Switch, but also other consoles where as controllers age and break down, those control sticks become less accurate. And so a technology that has become very popular in the last few years are Hall effect control sticks. Essentially, these are control sticks that don't drift, or are at least far less likely to break down and drift down the road. And while Nintendo themselves has not officially confirmed that the new Joy-Cons for Switch 2 have Hall effect technology, what we have seen is a particular leaker, Next Handheld, the leaker that literally shared with us the photos of the Switch 2 of the final retail model before Nintendo showed it to us. And they said that they were told by Nintendo's engineers that the control sticks will be Hall effect. So it's not 100% confirmed, but it seems likely given that this person was providing info on the Switch 2 like actual photos before Nintendo themselves did so. But let's say you don't want to believe this leaker who actually provided photos of the retail model of the Switch 2 before it was officially unveiled. From the first look trailer itself, we can see something very different about these Joy-Cons compared to the Switch 1 Joy-Cons. So on Switch 1, with the Joy-Cons, where the control stick connects to the rest of the controller, there's a lot of space there. A lot of space where debris or dust can get into, and over time, impact the accuracy of the control stick. But this time we see that there are these color accents that are actually covering more of the control stick, which will reduce the amount of dust and debris that can get in there, and thus we will see less impacts to Joy-Con drift over time with these newer controllers on Switch 2. So because of this extra covering and the Hall effect technology, Joy-Con drift is not going to be an issue this time around. And let's now move on to concern number 3. So there's this post on Reddit here. This connector on Switch 2 will be a key failure point. I really hope the controller would charge and communicate wirelessly. I can tell that this little nub on the Switch 2 will be bending and cracking immediately. For parents of young kids, RIP this controller nub. Skull emoji. And so I take a look at this and, well, I just strongly disagree with what's being suggested here, for several reasons. Firstly, when they talk about how they really hope the controllers would charge and communicate wirelessly, it seems like they are one of the people who had not heard about how the Joy-Cons are going to connect this time around. They connect magnetically. This has been reported by several different venues for months already. The Vandal port was one of the first to do so. This has been leaked from different places many times, and even going back to Next Handheld, the person who provided the actual photo evidence of the retail model of the Switch 2 before the reveal also said that there would be magnetic connections. But if you don't want to believe any of the reports or the leaks that have already been proven to be true, literally looking at the trailer, it is strongly suggested that there is a magnetic attachment there. That's why they are repeatedly show off the Joy-Cons snapping on, attaching on with a quick snap, because it is a magnetic attachment. And some of you might be wondering, why would Nintendo have changed to this magnetic attachment system as opposed to how it worked on Switch 1 with the rails? Likely to make the system better. This change that Nintendo has made with the Joy-Cons would have been done to improve on things over the Switch 1. I've had my Nintendo Switch, the original OG Switch, day one since it came out March 3rd, 2017. And I've put in a lot of hours on that system. The rail system is not perfect. Over time, my Joy-Cons would slide off even after clicking. It's not as secure of a hold. But I look at this new system now and I'm actually excited because I think it's going to work better. And the magnetic attachment is just part of the equation here. There's more to why this is going to feel secure. I understand how some people will see how this connection point is sticking out and they fear that that will be something that can easily break. But when we take a close look at this, it's still within this indentation of the tablet. You'll notice that there's this big hole now, unlike on Switch 1. That's for a reason. So the controllers fit more securely. Notice how the Joy-Cons now have these sides that stick out, the blue and the orangish red. That's because they fit in like a puzzle piece now, far more securely than how it worked on Switch 1 with the rails. So it's not just a magnetic attachment, but also how it inserts in like a puzzle piece, and because this is in there isn't going to be really much room to flex and wiggle around and cause something to snap off. And then thirdly, there's an additional mechanism that's been added here. So as you see with this right Joy-Con, there's this button here. This button here activates the pin here to disengage the controller. This pin that comes out allows the Joy-Con to be safely removed from the tablet, further reducing the chance of anything breaking. So between the magnetism, the pins, and the Joy-Cons fitting in like a puzzle piece where it's indented and secure, we should not be worried about these controllers snapping off and breaking and not being able to connect again. Nintendo likely made this change to make the Joy-Cons more snug, more secure than Switch 1. The idea is meant to be an improvement. They would not have made this change if it wasn't going to actually be an improvement of the console overall. During the Switch era, Joy-Con drift may have been a recurring issue. And like with all console launches, there are sure to be some problems that come up here and there. But for the most part, when we look throughout the history of Nintendo, their consoles are looked at as durable consoles compared to its competitors. That Nintendo quality, Nintendium, that term exists for a reason, because yes, their consoles tend to be more durable, they tend to not break down as easily as others. And when it comes to backwards compatibility, while other companies have had forms of limited backwards compatibility in the past, when it comes to Nintendo, usually it just works. So at least when it has to do with these three different concerns that we discussed today, I'm not worried, and I don't really think anyone should be. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.